Hello, welcome to Catholic Life, ordinary people with extraordinary faith. I'm Deacon Jodi Moscona, and once again, this is part 2 of an incredible 2-part series on a pilgrimage to the Holy Land. I'm with Traci, Ezell, and Kelly Naquin Anderson, 2 of my new best friends who are on the pilgrimage with us. And if you missed the first segment, I highly recommend you just go back and just watch it. You can get it online. It was just the introduction to the experience of all of Jesus's life, not all of it, but most of Jesus's life, which is where we're going to pick up today. How's that? So we started in the north part where the Herod was. We went to the Sea of Galilee, and now we made our way to Bethlehem. And this is where the reality of the persecution of the Christians hit us square in the face, because this is where we learned that there's only 12% Christians after having been 85% just 20 years ago. So, but that didn't keep us from getting up early and heading to the Shepherd's Field. Tell us about it.
Yeah, we went to the Shepherd's Field and the Shepherd's Cave, and we had Mass in there, and this is where the angels appeared to the shepherds announcing the birth of Christ. And so that was special to have that moment in there. There was a nativity in there, and it was a scene, and it was interesting because the child Jesus was larger than the wise men and the shepherds. Yeah. I don't know if y'all noticed that.
Incredible.
But
yes.
Yeah, but of course another place where we could put our intentions, like all of the places we stopped before. So yeah, I enjoyed that, learning about the shepherds and how they operate and why they were called to be a part of this. That was neat.
Yes, very, very part. And then after that, we went to the co-op, which was once again the geopolitical part of this whole thing. Mm-hmm. Just so people will know, if you've been in a parish where the people from Bethlehem brought the wood hand-carved items for sale, there are 5 artisan families that remain, and they pull their resources together, the articles that they create together, and they have a very nice shop.
Very nice.
It's a nice building.
Very nice.
It's, of course, it's got a
Very
fence.
prideful.
Yes.
As
but,
it should be.
And we spent a lot of time in there, and the point is
Personal
to support.
shoppers.
Yeah, the point is to support the Christians.
Yes.
Yes.
You know, everywhere we went, we ate at a Christian restaurant. We bought from Christians, and Tony said, "Oh, if it's good, don't buy it."
Yeah,
If he says
that
good,
was our
don't.
code words.
That's because they probably weren't Christian or they were not good items. So we did our part to support the Christians while we were in the Holy Land, and that continues today. So talk about the co-op. I see, you got a rosary, you got some Jerusalem crosses.
Yeah.
Any takeaways? I love your Jerusalem cross, by the way.
Well, the co-op was an opportunity for us to bring back part of our trip to our loved ones and friends back home. Our son wanted a crucifix for his home, and I said, let me wait until I get to Jerusalem, because that would be such a special remnant from that vacation or pilgrimage to bring back to you. So we were able to pick up crucifixes for our sons from there. But there was, I know Father Eric is very, all those parishioners at St. John Vianney, you should look forward to the nativity
Yes.
that he's bringing back. And
unbelievable nativity.
Yes.
And the way they
Carved
do it,
out of olive
the way
wood.
they provide for you to be able to pay for it. By the way, buy those rosaries if you're from St. John.
Yes, and we were all able to get our Jerusalem crosses, and just the different things. And the Christians there are so generous and so gracious. They did give Father Eric a framed framed portrait that he'll put on display at St. John Vianney,
And some vestments.
and
Got some
your
vestments.
vestment as well. I'm
Vestment.
looking forward to
Yeah.
seeing.
I'm not going to wear it till I'm preaching.
Yeah.
So, but they took care of us.
Yeah. It was going in there. You felt like they were old friends too.
Yes.
That was the thing. And one of them sang the Our Father in Aramaic. That was
awesome?
beautiful. I
So
recorded
beautiful.
it. They were funny. They were just excited to have us there, of course, and that was a lot of fun.
So let me just make a point about the Jerusalem cross. Every pilgrim that goes is asked to be marked by the Jerusalem cross. That's why you bring it back with you. Mine is at the jewelry store getting put on my Deacon chain that doesn't open, but I'll be marked with it also when I get it. We all have now little Jerusalem crosses. I gave them to all my kids. So when you see the Jerusalem cross, you know that it is the sign of the Christians in the Holy Land, and it goes back to the Crusaders. You know, and it's the 4 Gospels. There's 4 crosses in each quadrant. Those are the 4 Gospels. The middle cross is Jesus.
Well, and it's about evangelizing the 4 corners of the earth, and then also the 5 total crosses represent the 5 wombs of Jesus, with the big one being the one in his side. You know, for me, having this I thought it was a great opportunity. I love it. I think it's beautiful, but also to spark conversations. Another way for me to just be open and bold with my faith to share with other people. So that's why I was like, I have to get one of those. I have to.
And what was about your coworker?
Tell us about that.
Yeah, so some other Jerusalem crosses that I got, which I brought to all of the sites, you know, the Alpha, the birthplace, the Omega, the tomb. These were with me, with my intentions, you know, and I touched them. So I gave a coworker, I didn't even tell her anything yet. I just said, hey, look, I got this from you from the Holy Land. And as soon as she touched it, she says, oh, wow, like, I have the chills. And I said, well, wait, I haven't even told you where that's been yet. And then I told her all of the places we went, and she said, I just can't, I mean, I feel it. I feel it in my body the moment that I touched it. And in the next few days, she told me she's just been at peace ever since then, and she still is.
Miracle from the Holy Land.
Yeah, I should expect that, you know.
We should expect it.
Yes.
We absolutely should.
So that's what the co-op represented, us being able to bring it back to those of us.
While we're supporting
our loved
them.
ones.
Yes.
Absolutely. And then we went to the Church of the Nativity, but before then, we took a detour. Y'all want to tell that story about the Milk Grotto?
Right, so it was not on our itinerary. However, I believe the way this went, I'm not 100% sure, it got added in because it found out that there were people within our pilgrimage touched by infertility. Okay. And so I'd never heard of the Milk Grotto before. Had you?
Neither have I.
Had you ever heard of it before? So this is the location where after Jesus' birth that Mary first cared for the infant, Jesus, and, you know, breastfed him before fleeing to Egypt. And drops of her milk had fallen to the floor. They said the floor turned white, and they collect the powder from the floor. And people have experienced miracles of conception by either going there or, you know, with these relics of the floor. And so our tour guide knew that touched people in our group and made us special. He got us there, and just how incredible and amazing and thoughtful is that? You know?
There are hundreds of letters on the wall in the office, testimonials about overcoming infertility.
That was just so special. Yeah, and I'd never even heard of it before.
So then we went to the Church of the Nativity, which is the birthplace of Jesus, and we saw the Nativity Square, which you've probably seen on TV whenever there's a gathering on Christmas Day and stuff. It's directly across from the entrance to the Nativity Church. And when you walk in the Nativity Church, there's a grand, massive center where there's an altar, and there was a Greek Orthodox Mass going on. But we went to the side, and it's amazing how Jacob set all this up time-wise to where we were like the third group, and we waited 2 hours, but by the time we were done, there were 1,000 people probably waiting to get in.
Worth it. I mean, you know.
Tell about the Alpha.
You want to take it, Traci?
It was just an incredible, it was one of the striking points for me, anticipation. Necessarily, when you hear the gospel, you put yourself into a field with a stable, and what you find is these areas are now the modern day church's a shrine, and for the Star of Bethlehem, you actually go into this very majestic cave. Is that?
Yeah, it's hard
would
to
you
get.
agree?
it's hard
would
to
you
get.
agree?
It doesn't look like a cave because it's all adorned.
You go down into the cave, and there it is, and you just feel the presence. You know, you feel like you're in the star, and like Kelly said, you take your remnants and you press it against that star for it to become a relic in itself, and it's just amazing. You know, to understand, even in the hustle bustle, because there are thousands of people waiting in line for that same experience. But you know, it's incredible to feel the majestic feeling, the peaceful, holy. It just overcomes you.
Sacred
as
ground.
you feel it.
Yeah, it's just the gravity of the sacredness of this ground. It's
Absolutely
incredible.
And we all got to put all the items we had brought onto the birthplace of Jesus, which is marked by that beautiful star.
Yeah, these things touched it.
And that was the Alpha. And then, of course, when we got to his burial place was the Omega. And they kept reiterating, make sure your items touch the Alpha and the Omega.
Yes.
And you wind up with relics. They're all relics. They're third-class relics. So...
And Father Eric reminded us that we are as well.
Absolutely.
And,
share that. Share that with the audience.
Well, because it is, you know, it's a lot overwhelming. Because you're in line and you only have so much time, and then we do get a moment to pray and pause. But you go to these places and it's just up here, and at the end of the day you're thinking like, wow, did I really give that what it deserves, you know? And like Father Eric reminded us, don't forget, like, through this, you know, bustle of how much we've done, that you're a relic too, and you can still
you touched it.
Yes, and you can still bring yourself back to that, and you know, it's not like it's over now, and you can bring that to people too. I mean, there's more to that. I don't know if you have anything you want to add to that.
And that's what Kelly said. You know, I mean, you know, there's 1,000 people in line, so there is a time crunch for you to experience this and go on. But that's one of the things I had asked a friend of ours, Father Paul Yee, how do you prepare for such a thing? And he says, well, he recommended that you prepare by taking the site and looking for the biblical references. And that's what we chose to do. We had a book, The Pilgrimage of the Holy Land, and we also looked at the particular Bible references. And so after you experienced it, by reading those Bible passages, it brought you there, and you were able to, you know, re-experience it and understand, you know, what you had experienced.
Yes.
And we're going to share more in our second segment. We're going to take a short break. Stay with us. We'll be right back after a short break. We're talking about the Holy Land. We'll be right back.
We are the fog on your glasses. We are the cup to go at breakfast. We are the answer to your deadline. We are closing the deal. But more than anything, we are never being out of coffee ever again. Never. We are River Road Coffees, and we're ready to prove that our coffee is better than whatever coffee you're drinking at the office. Call us today for a side-by-side taste test so you can get powered by River Road Coffees.
Catholic Life TV has a morning show for you. Watch Wake Up live from Catholic Community Media every weekday morning at 7. Fresh Catholic content from local priests, church events from our area, plus authors, the Daily Gospel, Saints of the Day, and prayer. Weekday mornings at 7, grab a cup of coffee and join us for a joyful hour on Wake Up on Catholic Life TV.
I will stand by you. I will help you through when you
being there. Pass it on.
You can't go.
Welcome back. Thank you for staying with us through the break. Boy, we got a lot to cover in just a few minutes. So the end of the trip, just, we went to Mary and Martha's place where Lazarus was raised from the tomb. We went to the Jordan River. We went to the place where they memorialized Mary being assumed, but we know that it really happened in Turkey.
Right.
But and then we went to the Mount of Olives, and then we went to the place where Peter denied, and we learned a lot. I want to focus on that. And then we did the Station of the Cross at the Stations of the Cross, and then the Tomb of Jesus. So let's focus in first on where Peter denied. That was Caiaphas' house.
Yes, Gallicantu, which is because of the cock crows. That's
right.
what that means. Yes.
Oh wait, we've got Jordan River. Let's do that first because you wanted to share a story about Jordan.
Okay.
River.
Okay.
We went to go ahead.
Yeah, the Jordan River was another highlight of the trip because as Catholics we were able to take water back. Again, another avenue for us to bring back part of our trip to our loved ones back home as a memory and have them experience part of it with us. But also, Father Eric was able to guide us in renewing our baptismal vows, not only at Easter, but at the same place as Jesus was just, a very good experience. We had one of our pilgrims that was not a baptized Catholic. He's discerning his faith, and he took the plunge into the river. So that was all an avenue for us to support him as he is on his journey of determining his faith. And then we were able to see our friend Tony and his family's donation. In many of these sites, there were different prayers displayed in plaques, and he was very proud that his family had donated that there. So
in the Aramaic language.
In the Aramaic language.
That was pretty awesome.
And
we're proud of him.
We got pictures with him in it.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So it was just a very good highlight of the trip because it brought us all together, as one. It was one of those things because, as Kelly has mentioned, we all brought our intentions, and each, we prayed for infertility at with Mary. In different areas, we prayed for different intentions, but that we all had the same intentions of deepening and renewing our faith as a Catholic.
So when we went to where Caiaphas House is, we all got a lesson in Scripture, didn't we?
We did.
Because I've asked no less than 20 people since I've been back, where was Jesus scourged? And every one of them says at Pilate's. And we learned it was at Caiaphas'.
Well, we also learned that Pilate was only there he would have only been there because it was the Passover.
Right.
He did not live there.
Right. So this was an incredible sight where we saw where Jesus was lowered and the pain and agony.
Down in this dungeon. We were down in this dungeon.
We were down in there.
We were all in the dungeon.
Yes.
And just looking at it from above and then the journey to go there, you think we were at free will walking to it, but Jesus was, facing what was God's prophecy for him.
Meanwhile, Peter's up above,
listening to him be scourged,
Yeah.
which kind of explains away his denial a little bit.
right.
I feel a little bit better about Peter.
Yeah, definitely.
And that's we might do a whole show on that one day. But
I was silly enough. I'm like, not really realizing where we are. I'm like, what's the deal with the roosters?
yeah.
And
then we went to the Mount of Olives. That was pretty awesome.
Yes, the rock. Well, the garden. The rock is in the garden, and that calls to me, and the fact that we touched that rock.
The rock where Jesus.
I don't know if y'all heard this part. So some of the other pilgrims on their trip, the part of the rock where they were, they said it was like wet, like there was a little bit of a pool of wetness. Did you see this?
The water was running off of it.
And they said they moved it, and it filled again.
Yeah,
and I did not realize that while we were there.
I did the sign of the cross with that water. It was like, oh, did I just do that?
It's tears.
You almost can't even believe what you're you know. I hate to be Russian, but I want to get to the Stations of the Cross. So we went to the Via Dolorosa, which is where Jesus actually walked. And we're in Old Jerusalem, and it's the alleyways where he walked. It looks like it did back then.
At sunrise.
We did it early in the morning,
At
which
sunrise.
we weren't bothered. It wasn't crowded. That was the way
The
to go.
shops weren't open.
Yes.
And we did it. We did it. And
We
Father
could be in
did
solemn
a
observance.
personalized way of the cross, where he personalized the prayers for us. It was incredible. And we ended, after we did the Stations Cross, at the Church of the Holy Sepulchre. And I'll let you know. I'll let you take over.
How majestic, how majestic. A series of rooms, you know, just the majesty of the marble tomb.
Enormity of the place, too.
The enormity of the place. And, you know, to as you walking around and you see the other pilgrims, one group was actually having their mass in a different language. So you heard the beauty of their voice in their celebration of the Mass. And when we went visit the altars, the gorgeous mosaic tile that demonstrated different parts of the Gospels, it was just very majestic. But in the center of it all was the large marble tomb where we were able to have Mass. And
Kelly's touching her.
yes, it's just, you know, a goosebump, you know, good feeling of bringing you back, knowing that, you know, Jesus himself is buried there and
Was buried there.
It was buried there, and yes, was buried there. And as Scripture tells us, you know, I mean, our loved ones who have gone before him, you know, that's what I took away, you know, from that, is that, you know, my intentions for those who have gone before us, or, you know, you definitely felt at peace that, you know.
So just so those who know, not everybody gets to do a Mass in the tomb, but because Jacob is a Knight of the Holy Sepulchre, he got permission for Father to do the Mass. And Kelly, what was that like?
That was unforgettable. Yes, it was the setup. You want to talk about the setup? There was this. I mean, the tomb is large, but we had 35 people in our party to fit inside of this thing. So there's an altar table. There's enough room for Deacon Jodi and Father Eric to stand, and 2 or 3 at a time would have to duck down in and go in and have a moment so we could again be in touch with this most sacred ground. And but then get out and give everyone a turn, and so we rotated. We were like
the room was not much larger than this table.
Yeah, and there were 33 of us, and that was something I'll never forget. And then we had time, and we received the Eucharist in there.
Yes, that was amazing, and you saw the eagerness. So basically, what I recall is that the Catholic religious period of time that we were allowed to go into the church or have our masses was from 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. And the other pilgrimage that was at our hotel, they were surrounding and in line since 7 a.m. and they did not get to enter the tomb until after our Mass. So they waited 2 hours, in which we were able to spend a half an hour, because they were able to spend probably a minute.
And we spent a half an hour.
And we spent a half an hour in this glorious place. And it's just, you know, the highlight. It was fitting that it was the last day, because it was such a highlight.
Let me just add one little point that I'm going to get to you, Kelly.
Yeah.
This church is so enormous that when you leave the tomb and you come around, you get to the point where his body was wrapped in the linens, and there's a slab there. And when you go to the right, you look up, there's a stairway. You're going up the hill of Calvary.
Yes.
And you go up the hill, and then when you get to there, you can put your hand in and touch Calvary. All of this is in the same church.
Right.
Yeah.
It's closer than, well, that's where I was going to go. This Church of Holy Sepulchre, this most sacred ground, is large and enormous, but it completely encases Calvary, the tomb, and then something, a place where I was able to go and isolate myself and pray, and I felt really amazed by, is underneath Calgary. You get to that part where you can see the large crack in the bedrock because the earth shook when he gave up his spirit. And they have a measuring device on there that lets you know this is not something that just like is started and it's a process and it's separate. It has remained where that crack is, and that crack goes all the way to the temple. And so I was able to get quiet time away without a bunch of people around in that area with my intentions and my prayers and my emotions within the gravity of this moment in this sacred ground. And it's unforgettable.
So we have 2 minutes left. And what I want to do is give you each just enough time to just give some closing thoughts.
Okay. My closing thought is that going on this pilgrimage, I expected great things. It's more than I thought it would be, and it has changed me. I've made, since the day we've gotten home, I've already just made changes in my life that I didn't necessarily even like. I wasn't given direction. I just felt like I knew like I need to make these changes, and I'm changed and I'm changing, and it's just given me a burn that I didn't have before. So,
Traci?
Yes, it definitely, like I said before, it's an opportunity to bring the gospel alive in person and see that he indeed was a person just like us. And this pilgrimage was well thought out and well planned out from, the Caesarea to the death of Jesus, so that we were able to follow the gospel, follow in. I encourage everyone, if it's on your bucket list, to do it, because it's something that you'll never hear the gospel in the same way ever again.
And do it with your group. Do it with your church group.
Yes.
It's the bonding, the relationships, because now we can grow together. We can help each other grow.
Make sure that you have a Christian tour guide.
Absolutely.
Because a lot of the tour guides are either Jewish or Muslim, and you do get the history, but you don't get the spirituality.
I mean, how could that work?
Yeah, it just didn't work. So, in conclusion, the purpose of this 2 segments was to share our experience, hopefully to let you see the spiritual growth, the energizing, the new dimension of life that comes when you go and experience the birthplace of Jesus. I don't know what else to say except do it. And thank you so much for watching. God bless everyone.